Aloha. These are the top 10 oppositions to flat earth or critical thinking. You can call them your enemies or whatever you like. That's how I actually started on this video before recording this. It was like, who's going against flat earth? But it's not so much how I'm seeing it, people like enemies of flat earth. Most people are just unaware of what's going on, and a lot of the other people are so indoctrinated into a program that the way they present themselves just kind of opposes critical thinking. And this is not to say that it's any different than I was when I was actually in the Army when I was 17 years old, 18, 19, 20, and then going back in again. And then no different than using flat earth as like a slight to certain people or certain mind frames back in the day when I was writing, talking about people who are still following the slave mind control program are thinking like flat earthers. So it's that same sort of thing. You're just pretty much unaware, and because of that, for lack of a better word, ignorance, we just kind of go on about our lives without even really questioning it. So before I get started, to expand upon that, I was just explaining to somebody who had commented on one of the videos in reference to the global conspiracy. Excuse me. And I was saying it's not so much a global conspiracy. It's more of like a magic show or a magic trick. And when you have children who are like love magic, like my little brother used to do magic. He really loved that. It's very like an attractive thing. So in a magic show, you have people who show up. You have people who are like willing to be a part of that show, and the secrecy of the magic is what attracts people. So once you start the magic show, that's all you really have to do. You can, and then in that production, you have people who set the stage. You have assistants that might even not know, how the magic works. Maybe they do know what the magician is doing. But point being is that a global conspiracy actually presupposes people in the know of what's really going on, when it's not so much of a global conspiracy. It's more of a magic show that we call Hollywood and scientism. So the secrecy of scientism in Hollywood is obviously Hollywood is just fake. It's cameras, it's smoke and mirrors. But in scientism, it's more of the let's put all of these numbers out there. Let's put the Big Bang theory out there. Let's put the gravity theory out there. Let's put all of these giant light speed and light year numbers. Let's put the magic of dead planets out there. Let's put the magic of CGI in your face. Let's put the magic of 2001: A Space Odyssey, the movie. Let's put the magic of going to the moon and selling it to the world. Let's put the magic of global space programs, other nations having their own space program. These are all magic shows that are actually believable because it's backed up by the idea of science, but it's really scientism. And the true magicians are really the puppeteers that are all the way up. You have people, working the strings that don't even know how the actual show works, and it's so compartmentalized. You have people in the university system, which a lot of people still really trust, that are just working these numbers and selling these magic show numbers to the mainstream populace. That's actually how it works. It's more of like a magic show and less of like a an informed global conspiracy. Kind of like how everybody knows that the resources of the earth plane are being funneled by a few families or a few people who are at the top of the pyramid of the haves and the have-nots, who are maintaining this impoverished sort of reality for people at the expense of people for the benefit of a small group of people. Is that a global conspiracy with everybody who's aware of, what's going on, keeping people impoverished? No, it's a magic of capitalism, democracy, and the military industrial complex and the prison industrial complex. Selling you fear is a magic trick. Selling you war as peace is a magic trick. And since you are kept ignorant and kept in the space of like a child mind, you believe in the magic show and actually defend the magic show because you have tiny little proofs from within the magic show, but no proof of anything outside of that magic show. You don't have everything that you believe yourself to be in the idea of the evolution of humanity is based on the success of that magic show. And all of these categories that I'm listing off are just another version of a magic show, just being played on your emotions and being played on whatever comfort group that you've been a part of for your entire life, or your generations before you, or even like whatever kind of culture or race you affiliate with. All of these different mechanisms don't really work like a global conspiracy. It's more like a magic show for children, or grown children. Number 1, political activists. These are people like Alex Jones, mostly people like Alex Jones, celebrities like Donald Trump, and actors who claim to be speaking for you, but they're actually speaking for your engagement from within the system. Excuse me. So keeping you enslaved by their political perspectives. Now, does that mean that they are globally global conspiracists to keep you enslaved? No, a lot of them actually believe that the American democracy, or the United States of American democracy, is what needs to be spread across the world. They are subjected to that destructive magic show mentality. So all of your politicians are actors. All of the entire everything is an action-packed Pee Wee Herman movie, pretty much. It's just this designed to keep people engaged in their own enslavement and evolve it over time next to the consciousness of the people. So your politicians and your actors in Hollywood and your university system representatives like Bill Nye. Bill Nye is a known actor. He started out as an actor. Neil deGrasse Tyson is just a believable actor because he came through the university system. But he is, as he has risen in the ranks of engagement in the public, he's evolved from a professor into an actor to promote these mind control programs or magic tricks. And some of them are in the know, some of them aren't. Most people aren't in the know, but the people that are in the know are people like, I would say, Neil deGrasse Tyson, Bill Nye, Michio Kaku, the people that are out there who are definitely going to check every angle that's out there in order, if they're going to be speaking to the world. but everybody else is not going to check every angle. It's like, that's why it's so difficult for people to look into flat earth. Not everybody is going to look into the global deception. Why? Because it's easy to just follow the herd and be cool with all your peers. That's the easy trick. So that's like Hollywood, these political activists. It's all one big show. Alex Jones is out there to keep people expanding the storyline in the idea of forward progress with, you know, the Americana against the globalist. And you'll just believe whatever it is that these people tell you. Number 2, scientism priests. So these are your Neil deGrasse Tysons, Michio Kaku's, Bill Nye's, and so on and so forth. The people who expand upon the magic show of scientism, whether they are aware of it or not. There's some like regular professors in like a B-rated university system who only focuses on, you know, whatever kind of physics that are out there that they've been focusing on forever. And people believe in the system, in the magic show, because professors or people like that professor are very smart and very knowledgeable of one specific observation of the reality, but never really critically thinking. So they are, in a sense, in opposition to critical thinking, not because they are a part of some global conspiracy, but just because they just have been comfortable in that scientism mechanism for so long, and everybody else is subjected to that too. That could be understood as like the building of the magic show. It's fun in Disneyland. It's safe in Disneyland. It's very entertaining in Disneyland. It's all a big magic trick. But once you get out of Disneyland, you'll start to question your reality on a deeper scale, on a more critical scale, if you allow yourself to be. But what's happening is people are going to Disneyland when they're a child, and then they leave Disneyland when they grow up, but they take the mentality of Disneyland with them because of the mainstream media, because of the university system, the public education system, the politicians, and nowadays the social media and everything else that goes along with the grown-up version of the magic show. So yeah, NASA is a part of the scientism priest community. It's just a religion. It keeps you engaged in that religion of magic tricks. So like I said, it's more of a, it's easier to see. It's more accurate to see that this is a magic show and less of a global conspiracy. So I just really kind of wanted to put that whole thing to rest. Number 3, intellectual Westerners. So these are people like Noam Chomsky, Brian Cox, Russell Brand, and even people like Peter Joseph. Peter Joseph, who is like what did he started the Zeitgeist movement. Very intelligent individual, but doesn't speak in reference to flat earth or critical thinking outside of the economics of Western civilization. Doesn't speak in reference to healing the wounds of the colonial agenda. Doesn't really challenge the system from a deeply rooted revolutionary perspective, but is only really trying to fix the system or kind of sidestep the system and create another system that's mirrored off of the old system without healing the wounds that are a result of the old system. That is very dangerous. It's like trying to walk on a path with actually 2 broken legs, but at best 1 broken leg. The broken leg is the healing that needs to be done and the acknowledgement of the destruction that led up to those injuries of humanity that are psychological on the soul level and physical. People are being destroyed by the food and the water and excuse me, the air, the land itself being destroyed. So these intellectual Westerners who claim to be for the people, forward thinking, people like Peter Joseph, Russell Brand, even Jacques Fresco, who's like that Venus Project. All these people, this includes people like the New Age, but that's their own category I'm gonna get into in a second. But all these people who avoid, pretty much, whether they know it or not, the healing that needs to happen on a natural scale, internally in humanity and on the earth plane as a whole, but that is based in acknowledging what has led up to the so-called successes of Western civilization today. That is trying to move on with 2 broken legs and a diseased body. Everybody, soul, body, mind, body, and a physical body. That's actually more dangerous than the people promoting the mind control program, because you can actually see what they're selling you and you can call them on their bullshit. But people who are telling you everything is just gonna be okay if you just do this before you actually get to heal, that's dangerous. Number 4, conscious slaves. So this is in reference to the so-called conscious communities who are largely based in the opposite side of the intellectual Westerners' perspective. Like I was saying, they just want to move on. Conscious slaves are heavily bombarded by the struggle mentality. So all of the wounds that are a result of colonization, Western civilization, the white supremacy program, and the Columbian era as a whole, all those wounds are at the forefront of the vision of so-called conscious slaves, who are only about perceiving their reality from the struggle, which is a reactionary program. It's still in the box. It's still in the system. It's not expanding the level of consciousness outside of the consciousness that created this program to begin with. So these are a lot of the systems who are saying that as long as we, get our own money and get our own businesses, everything is gonna be okay. But like I said in previous videos, they're selling you green paper right now. They're selling green money. If tomorrow they change the money to red money, this is like H. Rap Brown said, they're selling you green money. That's where the power is, or you invest your energy. But if they tell you tomorrow we're gonna sell red money, you're broke, because you just filled your bank full of illusory paper, illusory power. That's the same thing. Same thing goes for like a lot of people focusing their energy on, just fight the power and then that'll be okay. You can't just focus your energy only on destruction. You have to simultaneously expand upon the creative energies there. And the true creative energies exist outside the level of consciousness that created the ultimate destruction factors of this so-called civilization as a whole. So when I say the word conscious, or the words conscious slaves, that's to really expand upon the perspective of, yes, these people are very intelligent, very aware of the system. But if you get so aware of the system and get caught up in that negativity of that system, you can't really get out of it, because that negativity is your world now. And then you can't really see what your true potential is outside of basing your positivity on the not negativity of the destructive world. I know that's kind of like wordy, but some people see where I'm coming from when I say that. Everything is not based upon the slave masters. The slave masters are just a part of the system. Your true empowerment comes when you break the chains of the slave master system and don't limit yourself to the struggle. You acknowledge the struggle. You heal the wounds of the struggle, but you expand your level of consciousness outside of the limitations of that program. Number 5, New Age suppressants. So this is the New Age program as a whole. People like Oprah, people like who limit their mentality to the love and light agenda. No different than the intellectual Westerners who don't want to acknowledge the wounds that need to be healed on humanity as a whole. The New Age just wants to move on, and they've actually created these prescription drugs or tools that is largely based in apathy by saying stuff like, well, the people who are struggling, that's their journey. That's just what they have chosen to experience. Okay, now what? Well, we just have to wait for the alien and the extraterrestrials to come down and say, that ain't nothing but a New Age religion. It's no different than Christianity waiting on Jesus to come fix everything. No different than intellectual Westerners waiting for a new economic system or, free energy to come fix the world. No healing is happening there. And that's at the core of everything that I'm talking about when I'm listing these programs off. The healing needs to be acknowledged. You need to heal those broken legs before you walk anywhere. You need to heal the blood, the core, the essence, the heart of humanity before anybody can walk anywhere, let alone run on a path towards true expanding of consciousness and true critical thinking. All that stuff, all those wounds need to be healed. And the New Age program is just another mind control program. It's being amplified by ancient aliens. It's being amplified by the mainstream media. Cryon, a channeler that's largely a part of the New Age community, has been speaking at the United Nations. All of this is going to be a part of the next agenda, the next New World Order, New Age Order, New World Religion. All of this is going to be packaged in some new world, pretty little thing with a bow on it, and then it's just people are gonna enjoy it because it's the new magic show. Aliens will be the new magic show. It's already being primed with your television shows. National Geographic, Discovery Channel, all these Bigfoot shows and alien abduction shows and ancient aliens talking about everything that is ancient on this earth plane came from ancient aliens. That's all bullshit. It's all to make you believe in the next mind control program, the next magic show. Number 6, Hollywood zombies. So this includes social media zombies, and basically the mentality of the distraction world. The individuals who keep you believing in the heliocentric program, that keep you believing in the system by distracting you from being able to critically think and making you love the celebrities, making you love these actors. This includes musicians and athletes who keep their mouth shut, literally keep their mouth shut on human issues, on the wounds that need to be healed. They're getting paid millions and hundreds of millions of dollars to keep their mouth shut. Whether they know about it or not, they are kind of chatteled into this mentality of don't say anything about this. And Colin Kaepernick is one example of that, of what happens when you start to speak about anything. And he literally didn't say anything. All he did was say nothing. He just kneeled down during he literally said nothing, and look at what happened to him. So this is the kind of programming that happens for the people who are in those systems, the Hollywood actors, the musicians, the the people part of the music industry. I don't even want to call a lot of them musicians because they're not musicians. People like Prince, he was a musician. Like all the old school bands, those were musicians. But nowadays you just have actors who, you know, mouth or play music. It's all Hollywood. There's no essence there. So Hollywood itself, and this includes people like Russell Brand and the activists who kind of leak out into the political engagement of consciousness. These are all distractors to maintain the magic show. And inherently, people who are stepping into the idea of flat earth or in the outskirts or trolling the flat earth community, they use stuff like, you think there's a global conspiracy? No, it's not a global conspiracy. Obviously, everybody is not in the know of what they are doing. It's more like a magic show where people are just defending something that they don't know. It's kind of like an older brother defending the existence of Santa Claus to a younger brother. He really believes that Santa Claus exists, or the Easter Bunny, or the Tooth Fairy, or something like that. That's what's happening right now. It's an adolescent at best mentality. This is why you have all these PG-13 and rated R movies out there. They're keeping people at best at a 17 and 13-year-old mentality, and then filling in the gaps with sex and drugs and social media distraction and the idea of being grown by having kids. Having kids doesn't make you grown. Having kids doesn't make you a father. Even having kids doesn't even make you a mother, because it's both sides. You can have a child. That doesn't make you a parent. What you do with that child is what makes you a parent. But the mentality is that's promoted through Hollywood is all you have to do to be grown is, you know, have a baby, get a job, get a house, get a nice car. Boom, you're done. You can die and you'll be successful because you did that. That's empty. It's dead. It's literally a Hollywood zombie. So everybody is like a C-list actor in this movie of mind control humanity. Then you have the B-list actors, and you have the A-list actors who program, and the C-list program everybody, and the C-list actors look up to the A, B, and A-list actors who believe in this magic show. So it's not so much a global conspiracy where everybody knows what's going on. Everybody only knows what's going on based upon their level of consciousness within the box of non-critical thinking. And within that box, there's a magic show going on. This is Disneyland for adults. Number 7, conspiracy propagandists. So this, excuse me, this is people like Alex Jones, all of the conspiracy channels who only focus on fear and disempowerment. David Icke, even David Wilcock and Corey Goode, who focus only on the good aliens and the bad aliens, the cabal, the Illuminati, all this other stuff. You're glorifying the villain in the movie when it's really just like a Scooby-Doo show where it's just a guy wearing a mask selling you magic tricks, or like the Wizard of Oz, the wizard behind the veil. It's all a magic show where these puppeteers are playing people with magic tricks. And the fear is what makes you believe in the show, and actually keeps you from questioning the show. That's how the magic works. It makes you believe in it from one level of consciousness, and on another level of consciousness, it keeps you from questioning that reality. You never question Disneyland because it's so wonderful. It's so entertaining. And then when you leave Disneyland, you see proofs of Disneyland all over the place. And your friends and your family also believe outside of Disneyland is Disneyland. So It's literally creating a real world with an asterisk. It's basically like a synthetic reality. It's a mind control program. And it's not because people are a part of this, like your sister's cousin's, uncle who is working for NASA making satellites or some shit. It's not that they are a part of some global conspiracy. It's largely because they have been in a box. They came up through the system, got their little degree, got their job, stayed in their office, got these numbers, ran these numbers, copied and pasted this piece of metal with that piece of metal, made a satellite, gave it to some other guy who works in another office, who gave that to another guy or woman who works in another office, and then they just moved a satellite around, made some video about it, maybe even put it on a rocket, shot it up, and then put it back in the water. You think you're 3 degrees separated from that satellite actually being on that rocket, yet you work in NASA. You had your hands on that satellite. How in the hell is that individual not gonna believe in what he or she is doing? That's how this magic works. And if that's your uncle or your aunt that works on those satellites, of course you're gonna believe that. So that's how this magic trick works. So yeah, these conspiracy propagandists play the distraction program like the new age suppressants. They distract you with love and light and just focusing on positive energy. We need to come together and unify. All right, well, when the mainstream takes on that mentality and they're still in charge of you because you're still a slave, what's going to happen next? You're just going to stay positive while you're locked in a cage? Good luck with that. But this is not where a lot of people are coming from nowadays. You got people coming at this from every angle. You got people in the conscious community are saying, I'm not taking this shit anymore. I'm done with this slave mentality. You got people in the flat earth community are saying, these individuals at the tippy top of this mind control program have been lying about this since the very nature of our reality, the universe that we think we're in, for so long that we need to literally till the soil all the way down and find out where these natural roots are, the earth roots and the human roots, and work from there. Anybody else that is talking about anything that is on the shallow versions of this reality can be seen as an opposition towards actual forward progress, actual healing on a human scale. I don't care if you're coming at it from a happy-go-lucky love and light perspective or you're actively defending NASA and the scientism community. On my perspective, it's one and the same. Number 8, psychopathic defenders. So this goes from what I was just talking about. The individuals who are in the know of this magic show, who are making at the top of that pyramid, who are making money as a result of the death, the blood and the bones of the indigenous and the aboriginal people, and at this point all of humanity, the people who are in the know of this system are psychopaths. They literally are happy that the idea of war brings peace. They expand the prison industrial complex. They expand legislature and politics that expands the military industrial complex. That is the definition of a psychopath. Yet that is the regularly accepted mentality of the Western so-called civilization through the Columbian era. All this world war thinking that, there's good guys and bad guys. No. Even these people were talking about Hitler was a good guy. You still in a mind control program, because both sides of the so-called world war were played by the same people. If you are claiming that people like Hitler and all these other people, they are still a part of the Western mindset, the Eurocentric idea of so-called civilization. Never going into the pre-Columbian history, the pre-Columbian and ancient technologies, the pre-Columbian civilizations that were not perfect. But if you do not get and learn from the positives and the negatives of the civilizations that predate the Columbian mind control program, you will be putting a band-aid on a cancer for the rest of your life. And that is dangerous. From my perspective, it's dangerous for the future generations, which I am speaking in reference to. This is not for our generations. If you're speaking right now about so-called truth and all this other stuff, if you're expanding the level of consciousness of your awareness of the relationship between humanity and earth, humanity and itself, the individual and itself, the soul and the body, the mind, the spirit, and so on and so forth. You are doing this to set the platform for your future generations to do this beyond your imagination. Because generations before us were subjected to Disneyland, the mind control program. And we are breaking out of that system, setting the tone for future generations to do this. And the opposition to this are people who fall subject to these categories. Now, they don't have to be individuals who fall subject to these categories. You have a lot of people who maintain mindsets that fit many of these categories. In fact, a lot of these individuals that I actually mentioned as examples fall into pretty much every category based upon their belief systems. So this is not about pointing the fingers at any one individual. This is about expanding upon the mind control programs that actually oppose what people think that they are not a part of. So yes, the people who are defending scientism, who are defending Neil deGrasse Tyson, who are defending NASA, who are defending like Alex Jones, he falls into this psychopathic defender program too, talking about, make America great again. Donald Trump is going to take our country back to when was America, the United States of America, ever great? That's the lack of acknowledgement of the blood and the bones that I'm talking about. That ultimately, I'm not calling Alex Jones a psychopath. I'm calling, at the extreme level, he's defending a psychopathic mentality. Because if you do not acknowledge the genocide, the massacres, and everything that is at the foundation of this so-called civilization, you are defending the actions of psychopaths. Number 9, apathetic acquaintances. So these are the people who pretty much fall in all of these subjects, but are largely knowingly apathetic or unknowingly apathetic, whatever it is. And they're your peer group, people who you don't talk to anymore, some of your friends, some of your family. They're so caught up in, taking care of their family, working, doing whatever it is, which is not a bad thing. It's just something that you have to do. If you have kids, you got to provide for your kids based upon the society as it sits right now. So you have to do that. At the heart of that, that's the regularly accepted mentality, which is inherently apathetic to the future generations. It's only focusing on right now. It's very nearsighted. That nearsighted mentality within the Columbian era, the Western civilization, is what's keeping people from working and acknowledging the lack of acknowledgement of healing that needs to happen for future generations. That is what I'm saying are these apathetic acquaintances or these apathetic friends who don't want to critically think, don't want to challenge the system. They don't want to go there, whether they're too afraid or they just tell themselves that they don't have time to think about that stuff because it's pretty much a lost cause. So I'm just going to do what I got to do for who I am, me, which a lot of these Hollywood people are, or narrowing it down to just regular people going to work. Now, I'm not saying like that's a bad thing. That's normal. There's nothing wrong with normal. You got to survive and eat. That's normal. But people who are allowing themselves to think outside of these boxes, who are thinking in reference to future generations, are seeing at the core, you can see those mindsets as very apathetic. Not wanting to heal the wounds of this system is extremely apathetic. There's no empathy there. There's no compassion at the core. Do these people, are they actively trying to be non-compassionate? Does that mean they have no compassion, no empathy? No. It's just there's an extreme amount of apathy when you don't acknowledge the side effects of the Colombian colonial program, the side effects of genocide and massacre, the side effects of destroying the earth plane, nature, the side effects of installing this technological mindset, this physical based child mind, adolescent mind mentality into the populace and into your children. That's what's happening right now with social media and the transhumanism movement and all that other stuff. And people who are not acknowledging the system as a whole, who are just saying, we need to basically, without so many words, get over it. We need to just make a better economy. We need to just do this. And that's not saying that they're doing bad things. If you're speaking in reference to the poverty across the earth, the homelessness, the lack of, more power to you. Thank you. At the same time, if I ever meet you face to face, I will ask you to expand the storyline. And a lot of these people are very in the know of how far that storyline goes. They just haven't figured out how to integrate it into their own style of approaching this situation. Whether it's because they just don't know. Some people don't want to lose followers. Some people don't want to lose whatever. They don't want to feel vulnerable. Some people are too afraid. They got fear running through their veins. Whatever it is, it's amplified by the system to not go there. And people are not sitting around taking that anymore. And that leads into number 10, soft revolutionaries. So this it speaks for itself. I don't have to go into it as much. I pretty much expanded upon it throughout this entire video. But soft revolutionaries are the individuals who call themselves revolutionary. People who, like in the New Age community, think they're revolutionary because they speak from an extraterrestrial alien agenda, New Age perspective. Yeah, that could be seen as revolutionary, but are you actually healing the wounds of every layer of this consciousness? No. You're actually sidestepping and calling yourself revolutionary. That's some soft nonsense. People who are talking about Alex Jones is a soft-ass revolutionary. He's probably the softest, loudest so-called revolutionary out there. Talking about Donald Trump is going to fight the globalists. You are already starting from a disempowered perspective, never acknowledging what's coming from what has happened to humanity as a whole. That's soft. And that's actually an opposition because it sucks a lot of people in. It sucks a lot of people into that mentality. And a lot of people won't get out because they pride themselves in that. Alex Jones is a perfect example of that, priding himself in, fighting the globalists. David Icke, priding himself in fighting the reptilians. That's not a revolution. It's a thought. But a revolution is not based upon one thought. A true revolution is a 360-degree uprooting of the entire system. That is where a lot of people who are speaking in reference to flat earth, who come from understanding, and overstanding how this system is inherently oppressive and has been overtly oppressive against nature and against humanity for so long. That's not going to sit around and take any doggy treats of a new world, new age agenda, this alien distraction, the doggy treats of an economic reform, or, if they were to release free energy, whoop-de-doo. That's not a revolution. That's a doggy treat. This entire system needs to be addressed from the ground up. From the roots to the fruits, everything needs to be looked at. And until we get our hands in that soil and uproot this synthetic tree of life and get our roots, our actual organic roots back in the soil, until that happens, you're going to be doing a soft revolution. If you're fighting the power, if you're calling yourself conscious, but you're still a slave to the economic, capitalistic, democratic mindset, that's soft. It's soft. It's not going to the depths. Like I said earlier, does that mean don't do that stuff? No, obviously, because you need steps to get to where you're going. It's going to take some time for this sandcastle to crash. And a lot of people need those thought processes in order to get up to the point of saying, well, how far do we need to go? So they need that mentality of economic reform and, fight the power. This is I'm speaking from my own example, from how I went through this process. I needed to go through fight the bankers, fight the conspiracy, the Illuminati and all that other stuff. And then, fight the globalists by talking about NASA and all this other stuff. But now once you get to the peak of that, you have a responsibility. What are you going to do now that you're outside of the magic show? How far are you really talking about going? This is where you really start to look at yourself, which is the hardest thing in the world to do. It's to see how far you're going, to change yourself from the inside out. Everything else that's based upon this magic show is externalized. It's not tapping into the spiritual warfare. It maxes out at the psychological warfare. But like I said, you can't get to the spiritual warfare until you go through the psychological warfare. Just like you can't get to the psychological warfare until you get through understanding, and overstanding the physical warfare. Why the military-industrial complex exists. Why the prison-industrial complex exists. Why the colonization of the entire earth plane exists. One step at a time will allow you to organically tap into the root structures of all these systems that hold this magic show afloat. So that's pretty much what I have for this video. Thank you for joining me. And until next time, from all my relations, peace, love, and harmony.